On today's show, we have a personal trainer from Comeback Athlete here to talk to us about holistic health. Come on, welcome to the show, Blake Scheidt. Hey, well, Blake, welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Thank you for being on. Well, hey, for people that are listening who maybe haven't had the pleasure to meet you like I have, maybe introduce yourself a little bit and what it is, like what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Blake Scheidt, and I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. Shout out to the Ravens. Play tomorrow night against the Kansas City Chiefs. But yeah, so I'm from up there. I moved down to Lakeland, Florida, for college, and went to Southeastern, studied education, and wanted to work with kids. I did ministry for 10 years in the inner city of Baltimore, and then some in Lakeland. And then I had a career shift with my family, and I've always done fitness. I played college football, and I at a small school.
Yeah,
everybody's gonna be like, "Where do you go?" A small little school in Maryland.
Everybody's thinking right now, like, what college did you play football for?
It was FSU.
Small school name.
Frostburg State University.
That's great.
Yeah, I love to lead with that. And then I transferred to Southeastern, met my wife, got married, did ministry. And then I've always done kind of a CrossFit background to pay the bills and get a free membership kind of thing when I was in ministry. And then when I decided to switch careers, it just felt natural. So I got into doing personal training, got a couple certifications, continued to grow in it, got some mentorship that I still pay for now, and more certifications. And so here I am almost 6 years later, and it's been my full-time gig, where I've gotten more into the remote coaching world, which we'll talk a little bit about, and just working with individuals both in like a personal training, work at class at Lakeland Athletic Club, so it's a great gym here in town.
Shout out.
Yeah. And so work out there, train some people there, but then also really built my off-site remote coaching fitness through Blake Scheidt Coaching, or Fittest Scheidt was a joke, and it kind of stuck.
I love it. Yeah.
Scheidt. And then I merged this past year with a guy who used to coach me, a really good dude named Jake Foster. And we had a really cool story where I worked with him at Vital Fitness, which is a good gym here in town too. And we had a little bit of a falling out, some disagreement, business stuff. And then really reconciled a couple of years later.
That's awesome.
And Jake's a great dude, and just always been somebody I've trusted, even though we had a disagreement, but just a good dude. And we started through that reconciliation, kind of seeing that we had a lot of same philosophies, same views, same thoughts on fitness, same thoughts on our beliefs, worldview. And from there, we went and we started talking, and he had a business called Comeback Athlete, which when he described it, it just felt like me. Like, I actually remember when he said it loud, he wasn't sure what he was going to do with it, because he's now working at CrossFit Mayhem, and he had a non-compete, so he wasn't allowed to continue to grow it. And so he hit me up, and we were just in passing actually, and he started talking about it, and I inappropriately said, "Man, that sounds a lot like me."
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like, I probably shouldn't have said that. Like, that was
like, it felt like I was saying, like, I'll take it.
But it felt like really natural, but it also felt like inappropriate. But then his reaction was like, kind of like he had never thought about it before. But that actually does sound good. And then from there we started having some longer conversations, hours of conversations, and then it led to, hey, why don't you come up if you're getting serious about this, and fly up and we'll kind of plan it out. And so that happened back in February of this year. And so I merged my business, Blake Scheidt Coaching, into Comeback Athlete. And so it's me, Connor Custodia, who's an awesome dude. Yeah. He's your neighbor.
He is, yeah.
And
incredible athlete too, dude.
He's great athlete, great coach, good guy. We just hired this guy named Nick Cheeseman out of Tampa. Yeah. He's got 10 years of coaching experience, great dude. And then Josh Duncan, who's our other coach, he's an OG. He's an owner at Vital Fitness, just a great guy. So we're growing. We're going to hire one more coach in January, and so we're expanding our team. But
That's awesome, man.
yeah,
And the goal of this, just kind of getting like a vision for it too, is like kind of continuing what you're doing with like personalized coaching for individuals, right?
Yeah. So like traditionally in the fitness world, you had like either personal training, and then it became like, oh, well, you can make more money if you do class, because then you can have more people per an hour. And then it was, and this is all from a business perspective, right? So you can reach more people, help more people get fit, and make more money. So then people realize, oh, like class gets difficult because people don't want to pay that much for a class, and then the overhead and all that kind of stuff.
Sure,
and
yeah.
How many classes can you actually fit and all that kind of stuff. So then people started doing remote coaching as the internet grew. And remote coaching really became like it started with like emails, like, hey, I'm going to send you a program. I'm going to call you once a month or do a Zoom call with you once a month for 30 minutes. And so it was like, here, follow this program. I'm going to check on you. You need to email me back these results. It was really an inefficient way of doing it, but people were doing it because it was all we had. And they were like, man, and it was really the only people who could do it were either like really elite coaches who had a high demand, or it was like people who sought out someone for a specific coaching. So it was like, I want to get coached by Marcus Philly for CrossFit, you know? So he had emailed people their fitness programs, you know?
Yeah.
And, and then there was things called like Fitbot and True Coach and all these different platforms, these apps that would come out, and it made coaching, it revolutionized coaching.
Yeah.
So now you could have these like video demos with notes in it, and it logged everything, and it kept all of your, your history. So you knew like, oh, 6 weeks ago when I did this workout, I got this time. Now I have this time, or I did this weight last week, and I can look at my, memory. And
I feel like I've had a couple of those over the years.
Yeah. So it's the technology has come so far. So now we can personalize coach people who want to have someone who has evaluated them, their goals, and is in their corner and is regularly in contact with them every day. So we talk to all of our clients really within a 24-hour period, Monday through Friday. And we do everything from nutrition guidance with them to macros to mobility assessments to designing programs for their particular goals, helping people get stronger, all that kind of stuff. And so we do it all through an app called Coach RX. Yeah. We can do Loom videos for people. We send that. And then we do bi-weekly phone calls or video calls for 15 minutes to do a more intense check-in. Yeah. We have an elite package that we do with people where we actually have a doctor on staff that does blood work quarterly with people. Wow. And so we'll do some nutritional optimization through that. And then we have a monthly mindset call with a counselor that's on staff. So this guy's a sports counselor. He works with like the LA Rams and the Tennessee Titans. He's awesome. He's worked with Aaron Rodgers. So he's the real deal. Like when I came on staff, I was like, okay, like I'll go attend these. As I'm the owner, I should probably be there and be present with all the other clients. And then I'm like, I'm getting my freaking notepad out. This guy is good. Awesome. I'm like, this is like a really good TED Talk. Before I was done the first session, I had like 2 pages of notes. This guy was money. His name's Joe Jardine. Yeah. So he's really great guy. So we wanted to coach the whole person. We want to be a one-stop remote coaching service so we can coach anybody anywhere. I've had clients. I have a client right now in Africa.
Wow.
He's a missionary. Yeah.
That's awesome. How'd he hear about you?
Well, he's from the States, so I knew him here, but he went over there. But I'm saying I can coach him in that long distance. I've got clients in, Washington, Tacoma. I've had clients over in Baltimore, Maryland, back home where I'm from. So, you can, it creates more scalability, but also more reach for the coach. And then it allows more flexibility and also more intentionality for the client. So why does this matter? Like, why does program design, all this stuff matter? It's like, it's not for everybody. It's fine. Like, that's the beauty. At the end of the day, I want more people to be healthy. I want more people to get fit. I want more people to feel better. We know so much more than we used to. What I believe my part in that is that, and here's a great example. You go to your regular CrossFit gym, or you go to like your body pump class, or you go to some sort, Orange Theory. You got 10 people in class. Okay. You do a 1-month program with them. You got 3 people who all PR'd at the end of the month. They got new personal records. They hit all their goals. You got 3 people who stayed exactly the same, and then you got 4 people who got injured. Is it the program design? Because 3 people did really well with it, 3 people didn't, and then 4 people got hurt.
Yeah.
Or is it that it's more about the individual? Like some people can go into class and it works for them and they are going to get great results and they feel great. Some people go and they look the same they did 5 months ago and they feel the same they did 5 months ago, and it's just not working for them. So what we do is we don't cookie cutter anything. We assess you and we don't guess. And then we figure out how to build out a program specifically for you, where you're at in your life, what you have, so that you can kind of achieve those goals that you're looking for.
That is awesome, man.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I imagine, well, what is cool to hear about that too is it's so much more than just like what maybe I would assume or some other listeners would assume is just like, it's just about creating a cool workout plan for you. Hey, lift this, do that, and then send me the results. It's more like holistic, like it's your diet. It's also like just your mindset. That's amazing that you guys have a counselor on staff and that option as well.
Yeah. It is really cool. And you don't think like, well, I don't really need that. It's not, but like you get in there and you realize like, oh, like this is why I'm tanking at work. This is why like I'm scared to break that new run record, just because like I get into these head case mindsets. Right?
Yeah.
And Joe is just so gifted and he's got so much experience on how to do it. And all of our coaches are getting that teaching too. So you're getting with your coaches and you're getting mindset coaching on your phone calls and things like that. But yeah, so much of this is in your head. And also like, back to the ministry thing, like so much of the body and the soul are connected, or the emotions are connected. And so what happens is like people that are a lot of times are the most fit clients too, they're running from something. Or they're
it's an escape.
It's
maybe
an escape. It's their drug. It's and it's like if I don't work out, I'll say this: like I know someone who's very close to a very famous CrossFitter. I won't say who this CrossFitter is. This CrossFitter had to skip a workout one day for them to all go do this fun event. They were going to an NFL football game.
Yeah.
And when they were flying back from the game, because they had to fly there, this famous CrossFitter was kind of shaking a little bit. And he asked me, he's like, dude, what's going on? He's like, I just haven't worked out today.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And you're like, bro, this guy is one of he's one of the fittest guys in the world.
Yeah.
Like you can take a day off. Yeah. But it's you can't just say that to someone because it's in their head. It's like, if I don't do this today, I'm going to become blank.
Yeah.
So I like working with people on all those spectrums. Like, why do we keep sabotaging our diet? That's a big one. Like, I don't know why on the weekends I just keep sabotaging it. So just like having a coach in your corner, asking you the hard questions, talking with you. I love that. Like, that's so much. I love helping people's squats get better, but I also love people's lives getting better and light bulbs clicking. Yeah. And so that's what we want to do at Comeback. We want to be a little bit more different and coaching the whole person.
And dude, what I think is so like, I've had seasons in my life, and I'm sure you have too. And maybe you're in this right now where like you are like eating right. Like you're putting all the pieces together. You're eating right. You're, and even in the working out thing, what I've found too is it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be this daily CrossFit athlete. No. It's just like keeping something consistent. And for some people, that's a wide variety. It's like, hey, you went out and walked this week a couple times. 100%. And to some people, it's like, hey, you did like a pretty intense CrossFit workout a couple times. But doing that consistently, I had a couple of seasons, and that's what I'm trying to get back to right now, to be honest, but like, is like, getting to that mindset where it's like, man, you didn't realize your body could feel this good. Like you didn't realize, dude, I don't even need the coffee in the morning, man. I'm just awake. Like I feel like energized. That is the thing that, for me, like full honesty too, of like just having 2 small children right now and, like waking up a lot throughout the night. It's been hard for me to just continue to be consistent in the mornings of waking up, doing the workout. But when I have stretches that I do, I'm like, man, it's so much easier to wake up. Yeah. Like I feel great throughout my day. I don't feel the need to like go grab an energy drink or a coffee in the middle of the day.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. It's like, this is how your body should be.
Should be. Yeah. Yeah. And like, I think too, strategizing with someone like in your story, right? Like you explaining that, like you got 2 kids, busy, you're working, like the only time I can fit in is in the mornings. And I feel like if I can't get up for the class, then I shouldn't go.
Yeah.
Like, I love trying to strategize, like, all right, well, like what 2 days a week can we go really hard? Because you just know, like, man, I'm always going to be up and have this time. It's like, great. Those are going to be 2 of our harder days. And the other days, we're just going to get up and do 20 minutes of like this. Like you can sleep in a little bit here and you got 20 minutes, it's like, and the consistency of that would be so much more effective than like, it's all or nothing. I either can get to the class or I can't. So, but I would say that like CrossFit to me personally is like one of the most fun ways to work out.
Oh yeah.
So that, and that's the appeal to it. But it's like, cause I have a lot of clients who are like, man, I really want to get my snatch better, or I want to power clean more. And I'm like, okay, well, what's your main goal? Like, I really want 6-pack abs. Like,
yeah. Right.
Well, why are we snatching and and cleaning? I'm like, I don't know. I thought that was what I was supposed to do to like get those. And so that's a great education point. It's like, there's an easier, faster way to get there.
Yeah.
And it's less painful if we're not doing it like this. But if you want to have fun along the way and you have a long time, like, I'll teach you how to snatch and clean. Like, but we're just going to have to get like freaking dialed in on your diet and just be consistent and have fun. So it's, again, I'm as a coach doing this now full time for 6 years and coaching for 10 years. And like, I'm still working on trying to not have my own bias working with people and let the program design come from the conversations we're having and the things we're drawing out versus like, this is how you have to do it. And if you don't do it this way, it's the wrong way. There's so much of that right now in our world in general, I think, but trying to like say like, there are some things that like 2 + 2 is just 4. That's a fact. But there's a lot of ways to get fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and you can't tell me like the guy who likes to just run more than the person who likes to lift is not fit. They just might enjoy running more than they like the weightlifting.
Yeah.
Does weightlifting benefit them? Yes. Should they do it? Probably. But like, if all they can work right now is they're, a dad of 5 and they got to get up and get out the door, and running out the door for 3 or 4 miles a day is easier than getting to the gym, all the power to them.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. I'm just glad he's moving, or she.
For sure, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is like unique to what you were saying. Like, dude, I love CrossFit because it brings back something into me that like kind of that athlete. Like I've done sport. I did soccer for so many years. Like I've shared with you before because, I go to the gym and we've talked about it, but I had a pretty serious like back injury that kind of stopped me from soccer and made like working out a little bit difficult. But just like the CrossFit, I feel like brings me back to that sense of like, oh, I'm kind of competing. And I have this weird thing. I try to explain it to people, but like, I feel like I'm not like outwardly competitive. I'm more inwardly competitive of like, in my mind, I need to beat this guy at the gym. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't know, but I'm racing against him. And it pushes me. And I love that, dude. It makes me feel like, okay, don't take a break right now. You can have a break in 3 minutes or whenever, but there's also for some people that is not the enjoyable thing. There's
some people that despise it.
Well, and kind of on the opposite end, like there was a while where I was doing like the traditional gym sense of just like going there, bench pressing a little bit. And I was just bored. It wasn't my thing, And so that is what's unique is like, and what I appreciate about what you guys do is like, you're trying to zero in on, okay, what is this person's thing and how can we help them reach their goals?
Totally. So much there that was good. Like, first off, like, I think like the person who goes to the gym and it's like boring to you, stop doing that. Like figure out a way to make working out like at least like somewhat enjoyable, and that way it'll be consistent. So it's like whatever's easier. Cause that'll be the thing you do the longest, right? It's the same thing with diet. It's like, what's the best diet? The one that you can adhere to the best. It's like, it's like, cause obviously like, okay, you want to lose weight. Like we can do that really fast. It's going to be a diet that you won't adhere to for a long period of time, but we can do it for 6 weeks and you're going to hate life, but you'll get the results. It's like, okay, or would you rather do this in 12 weeks and we do it slow? So I think back to timing on all that's really big, but you said something earlier about being an athlete and connecting to that. I think there are a couple people in fitness, like they're the people who like, I should do this because it's good for me. And the shoulders, right? They're people who don't necessarily like working out. Yeah. Like there's nothing that is fun to them about it, no matter how much you dress it up. And so they just Like they just need a lot of encouragement, and they also need a lot of challenging to like, hey, you just got to do it. The people who are like can tap into some sort of competitiveness, like you said, I someone in the room, right? Like those are the people that like typically like a CrossFit style workout, which would be like some sort of time domain workout, or like you know, how many reps you can get in a certain period of time kind of workout. That is going to be the person who can make working out fun and be consistent, because they can tap into that. I will say this on like just being very honest though, part of why I don't go to class anymore, because I did class for years. I did CrossFit for like 8 years before I started doing like getting my own coach and doing, I get coached too by somebody, was because I was getting hurt all the time, because I was just like you. I was trying to like find the person in the room, like who am I going after? And I would just, and like there's a beauty to pushing yourself that hard, but if you do that all the time, like I was like, for me, it broke my body down.
Dude, I will admit, there have been moments for me. Like there was a workout recently, I feel like, where kind of like I'm just always doing that, dude. And it's something that I can't turn off within me. But like
you're a competitor.
I'm competing against somebody.
Yeah.
And that one, there was a workout that kind of definitely like hurt my back. I mean, it's not something that I can necessarily get away of, fracturing my spine in 2 spots in high school. Like it just kind of always lingered. But then it's also like, I don't do box jumps as fast or as hard as I used to. If I do them in the workout, I'll still do them. I just kind of try my best to turn that piece off in my brain of like, okay, I'm not going to win today.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to like destroy my knees or destroy myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that may just be on me. That's not necessarily the workout, but
no. Yeah. I would just say this is where our name Comeback Athlete came from, was like, it's the idea of like someone who was a former athlete or former competitor in something, and they're not competing in those things anymore.
Yeah.
But they got the itch to still have workouts that give that itch of, I feel like an athlete.
Like you're in a game or in a practice or something. Yeah.
I'm moving like an athlete. I feel like an athlete, and I'm starting to look like an athlete again. Like, and so we're not necessarily training people for like to qualify for NCAA, meets or whatever. We do have some of those clients. We work with some grandmas. I have a bunch of 75-year-old clients like that I've worked with remotely. But our typical avatar that we market to is someone who's like you, like myself, former athlete, no longer competing in that sport, but still likes to throw down in my fitness in a way that feels like an athlete, because that's just fun for me. And chasing a goal, like I just literally got off a video call with a client right before I came here, and we were just trying to realign his goals, because like he's a competitor, he's a former golfer, like just loves to have something to chase, and because it gives you purpose and intentionality of like when it sucks, it's like, why are we doing this? Oh yeah, that's why we're doing it, because I want to see if I can do that. I want to express that, or I want to feel that. So the client dictates that. The coach's job is just to pull it out. And so that is why we call ourselves the Comeback Athlete. And it's just somebody who wants to feel, move, and look like an athlete again.
And you guys are right. You guys are doing a podcast for this too, right?
We are. Yeah. So it literally is the Comeback Athlete Podcast. We're on every podcast service you can think of, Spotify, Apple, all the big ones. And we are trying to do like themes. So like last month we did like, how we program design, why it matters, how we assess people, how we think through that. This whole month we got a great lineup. We got some guests coming on this month, but we're going to be doing nutrition and how to eat on the go all month. So it's like, how do you eat healthy for people who are busy? How do you create healthy snacks, healthy hacks? How, what are some easier ways to create, food prep, things like that. So, and then what are just some things that are just like essential? Like, does it matter? Is it really just all about getting a certain amount of calories in? Or does the quality matter? Does my gut health matter? Like, and then you start getting into all the TikTok stuff that goes around on hormones, and like the reason you're not losing weight is your cortisol's so high. It's like, I bump into so many clients, and I'm like, hey, before we do all that, let's just do this basic checklist. Yeah. And just sticking to the basics really well, before, you're a special case that only a doctor can fix. Yeah. So we're doing that, and then our month of October, we're going to be doing a whole mindset focus on our podcast.
Nice, dude.
So we're going to have Joe on, who's our counselor, Joe Jardine. We're going to have a guy named Doug Bops, who I went to high school with. He's kind of like a YouTube sensation podcaster.
Awesome.
He does mindset stuff and fitness. He's got a really cool story. So we'll have some guests on for that, and we'll be doing some featuring on like why mindset matters, why it's important, and certain things we'll tackle in that. So yeah, and we got a whole year planned out.
That's great, man.
Yeah,
Comeback Athlete podcast.
Comeback Athlete podcast.
I love that, dude. I actually will. I'm not just saying this too. I'm going to listen to, especially this month. That is the toughest part for me, to be honest. Like I'm pretty motivated to be. I am just that person that when I haven't worked out in a few days, I hate the way I feel.
Yeah, you got to get
and
moving.
so I got to get moving. Like we were on vacation this weekend. And I was just like, I told my wife, I was like, babe, I got to go for a run. I got to do something. So I went for a run at like 1 p.m. It was the worst.
Oh my gosh.
But like the dieting for me, dude, I've always had a slow metabolism. So stuff like just sticks with me for longer. And I get in great rhythms. Like, dude, there was a time where we did Whole30 for longer than 30 days. And I felt incredible. Now I do think that one's kind of hard to sustain sometimes, especially if you want to go out and do stuff. It's hard to find places that just fall in line.
It's a good it's a good launching point.
It's a great launching point because I felt amazing, dude. And I just I didn't crave bad stuff. And then you know, after the 30 days is over or so, you kind of, oh, cool, I'm going to go back and eat some donuts or whatever. And you get out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, for me, it's like the dieting. I heard something and I'd love to hear your thoughts too on just the whole dieting thing. I think it was like Chris Pratt or somebody like that, because he, like the actor, he went through like a different, like if you watched him on Parks and Rec to like what he is today.
He's a big boy on Parks and Rec,
yeah. He said, I used to like love eating and then hate afterwards.
Yeah.
And now I hate, and maybe hate's a strong word. I don't know exactly how he said it. I might be butchering it, but like hate eating, but I love the way I feel afterwards.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me where I'm like, dude, I'd love that.
Yeah.
I'd love to like, okay, eating isn't like maybe as enjoyable as it used to be, but like the long span of time afterward is way more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard him say something funny along the line of like, and maybe this is similar to what you were saying. I heard him say a long time ago, it's like, it's painful to get big. Like you're eating, you know, terrible, crappy foods. And he's like, so there's that kind of pain. He's like, it's also painful to take it all off. He's like, so you just kind of pick your pain. But like, he's had different roles with that. Yeah, I would say with when it comes to like the nutrition stuff, you know, it really is by person. And the hardest part is that there's so many different things. I mean, carnivore, keto, paleo.
There's so many things out there.
Vegetables are bad for you. You know, vegetables are great for you. You should be a vegan, you know. And the reality is that sustainability is very important. It is also healthy for a lot of people to be able to go out and eat like socially.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing for people. You know, I always say that, like, you know, it might be more healthy for you to go hang with friends and go get dinner where you had maybe the food is a little bit more processed or a little bit more salty and sugary than to like stay at home and eat the salad and by yourself. You know, you got to, there's always a sacrifice of health at some point there.
That is cool to hear you say that.
You know, like if you think of the whole person, like it's not just only what you eat. It's how you eat, it's who you eat with.
Because
right?
what can deteriorate you pretty fast is loneliness, right?
100%. So I don't want to have anybody hear that and be like, oh, well, like I listen to this podcast and now like I can go eat donuts with my friends because I'm being healthy. Like there's a balance, right? I'm just saying like you can also go the other extreme, and I've dealt with that where it's like people don't even go out because they're just like so addicted to their to being anal about their diet. But I would say that where most people do go wrong and when they do figure it out is if you can eliminate processed sugar. I'm not talking about fruits.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like what's in a little bit of meat. But if you can get rid of like a lot of like processed sugars, your body will feel better. A lot better. Like there's so much inflammation that happens when you eat a ton of processed sugar. For most people, some people have really great gut health and they're really going to have really great genes, and they're just going to be able to eat trash and still feel and look great.
Yeah.
And by the way, just because you look great doesn't mean you feel great. I know a lot of people who look great and they feel like trash.
Right.
So, and I know a lot of people who don't look as great. They're very fit and they feel great. So it's not we base so much of your fitness off of how you look, and that's just not always a great indicator. And a great example of this is Matt Frazier. I hate to pick on the guy, but like he doesn't have the greatest aesthetic.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, he always looked he looked fit, but he just he didn't look like the fittest guy in the world.
100%. I know. And if for people like listening to this too, he's like a CrossFit athlete.
Yeah.
He if you go back and look at the CrossFit like competitions that he competed in the past, you wouldn't, I know exactly what you're saying. You wouldn't pick him out and be like, oh, he's for sure going to win.
He's the fittest guy. And think about this on Ultimate Fighting Champion, UFC. Like a lot of times the guys who don't look that fit are the best fighters, the most fit in the room. And the guy who looks just shredded like he would be able to kill you is the guy who gets knocked out in a minute. Yeah. And you're like, it's just...
What's that guy? I watch a little bit of UFC, but Patty the Batty. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't actually watch that much. I'm just telling you, from what I've seen.
Yeah. But I think he's one of those guys where he'll put on a bunch of weight, lose a bunch of weight, whatever.
Yeah.
But he doesn't look like, oh, this guy would destroy people. But he does. Yeah.
The one guy I know would be like Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz is he does pescatarian diet during his training, and then in the off season he does more of a vegan, is what I've heard. Yeah. Which I'm like, hey, more power to you. I would never want to do that. But But he doesn't look like he looks like a swimmer. No knock on swimmers, but you don't look at swimmers and be like, that's a fighter right there.
Yeah. Right.
He's one of the best fighters in the world.
Crazy.
Yeah. So that the point of all that was let's stop judging only by how someone looks. A lot of times they connect, but a lot of times they don't. And just focus on more of are you feeling better? Do you have more energy? Do you feel more consistent? Are you a nicer, kinder person?
Right. Yeah.
I think I did a bodybuilding competition 3 years ago, and I looked amazing. I was probably the most grumpy, mean person ever. I had no sex drive. I was my wife was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's crazy how much is connected.
Oh yeah. I was like, I'd rather have French fries than make love.
Crazy.
I'm dying.
Yeah.
I was miserable. I couldn't wait for the competition to be over so I could eat things I wanted to eat again.
Yeah.
But so much of our everything comes from that. And then a big reality that most people don't know is that most of the calories that are burned in your body are burned by what's called your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. And that is where our energy goes for our brain, for our respiratory system, for just keeping all the maintenance in our body going, right? Our nervous system, all those things require energy. So when I show people this, it's like, hey, the more muscle mass you have on your body requires more BMR.
Yeah.
So put muscle on, you'll actually be able to burn more calories doing nothing and just being the same weight. So that's one way. The other two ways that require energy expenditure would be really just your non-exercise movement. So are you the mail lady in the neighborhood and you're walking around everywhere?
Yeah.
That's a person who's burning a lot of calories all day. Or are you the guy who works at Geico and you're sitting in a desk all day, right?
Yeah.
That person doesn't burn hardly any calories. So that's important because you have what's called your exercise activity, thermogenesis, eat, and you have your NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Those make up, I would say, on top of the thermo effect of the food that you eat, which is really, that's a really fancy word for saying eating more processed food or eating more non-processed food. So fruits, vegetables, meats, things like that. They actually burn more calories being processed in your body. They have a higher thermo effect, burn effect, because there's more nutrients to pull out of it and it requires more work. So you actually burn more. So a great example, if I gave you 400 calories of chips and I gave you 400 calories of broccoli, you would burn more calories eating the 400 calories of broccoli than you would the chips. So even though you take in the same amount of calories, your body actually has to work harder because it's pulling more nutrients out of the... That's a really really general example, but you get the point. So the thermo effect, the non-exercise activity, and the exercise activity probably makes up, I would say, around 50% of burning calories. And maybe I'm being generous there.
Yeah.
And the other 50% is your basal metabolic rate. So it's very important that we keep that high by both eating enough food most of the time. So people who starve themselves lower their basal metabolic rate. right? People who don't eat enough, or they do this, like a lot of people I work with do a feast or famine is what I call it. It's like, I'm going to eat way too much. I'm going to starve myself. I'm going to eat way too much. I'm going to starve. And it might be work related. It might not even be like that they're like meaning to do it. It's like, well, today, like I just I'm so dialed in and focused. Oh my gosh, I went 9 hours and didn't even eat anything. You have some people like that. I'm not like that. But,
no, dude, I'm not like that at all. Yeah.
But there are some people like that. And then you have and then it's like, oh, well now like the next day I don't work as much. I'm going to go out and eat here. And I'm really hungry now. I'm going to have like this. And then like you consumed like 4,000 calories.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's all stuff that we educate people on. That's stuff that I love talking about, as you can hear me just ramble on.
Yeah. It's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Hopefully it was helpful.
Yeah.
I feel like I geeked out on you a little bit there.
No, I love it. I've had just when you said that, I was thinking about a moment. There was a season in college where I got really into running. And I also just was like trying to like stay fit and do something that was like, I could afford running. I could go for a run whenever. Yeah. And I got super into it. And so I stay pretty consistent weight wise of like 190 to like 210, like just like in that 20 pound ballpark or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I was running a lot, dude, I dropped down to 160, which was the lowest I've been in like, so long, dude.
Yeah.
I was very, very skinny.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it. I was having a great time. I was running, but I didn't change the way that I ate. I was eating like normal, not crazy.
Yeah.
Just like kind of eating consistent. And dude, I was just so like my girlfriend, who's not girlfriend at the time, wife now, was like noticing like, you're just very like tired. You're not like, you're not excited. You're just kind of like dull, Yeah. I remember she took me, she took me to a Chili's and she was like, you're going to eat this whole burger. Like you were going to eat this whole, cause dude,
that's a good wife right there.
Yeah. I was running a ton, dude. Like, 160 pounds, and I could not finish a burger and fries. Like I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I was so like, just like had gotten into a bad rhythm. But when I got back to that place of like, oh, I'm burning so many calories, I need to like match my body. And maybe burgers is the wrong example, but just like, something.
Yeah, if you're doing that much work, burgers are great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that. And that's where another thing, like there is no such thing as bad food. It's better and worse. Like it depends on the goal.
Yeah.
Like Rich Froning, Matt Frazier, fittest guy in the world, that CrossFit guy. I mean, he was packing some Coke and Snickers between workouts.
That crazy?
Yeah.
And he's crushing, dude.
He just needed the fuel. So you look at a lot of these endurance athletes, they're doing the same thing. They're slamming a pizza the night before and eating like nothing but sugar during the race.
It's wild.
Yeah. And it's not like a vitality diet, but it's what you need to get through if you're going to compete like that.
Yeah.
So if you're running, like you're putting that many miles in, what happens is it's like your body just starts to naturally slow the process down of metabolizing, like just slows it all down so that you can function and feel good. So you feel great because like a lot of the other things from exercise are going well. My brain cognition is higher. Like the wires in my brain are working faster. Like my gut feels good because it's like I'm getting more blood flow. Like I'm feeling good in a lot of other areas. I've got energy out. I've worked some of my anxiety out, like just that you get through working out. So all of those things are good. But then when you don't, and you can do this for a while, when you don't refuel well, you can find yourself in a place where you start like in a couple months getting into a kind of a bad place like you were.
Yeah.
And then you can slowly build that back up real easy. We call it reverse dieting. Look, at the end of my bodybuilding competition, I was eating like 1,200 calories a day, which I need to eat like 3,600 calories a day.
Yeah.
So you're looking at someone, and the funny thing was I was eating a lot of food, but it was very low calorie food. So like white fish and green beans is like nothing.
Yeah.
And I probably ate.
You felt like you were eating so much, but it's just
I ate every 3 hours.
Yeah.
I had to, or I would like get dizzy and pass out. I probably ate, I would say about 6 fillets of fish a day.
Dang, dude.
It's a lot. Maybe
it's like what?
7.
Like I hear like the Rock eats or stuff like that. You know what I mean?
But he's eating probably like rice with like,
dude, yeah, I'm sure it's a little bit different.
Yeah, a lot more food than I was.
Yeah.
I would have killed for rice. So yeah, anyways, don't do that unless you really want to for purpose. I would just say that like, your story was really cool because that's like a great example. the idea that someone could, just start getting really fit, but then their diet doesn't change with it. You start seeing like this, man, I'm feeling great. But then like someone slows down who can kind of see you, like your wife kind of coached you out of that. She's like,
for
I
sure.
need you to eat this whole freaking burger, which you're like, yeah, cool. And then you're like, I can't, like, I feel full.
Yeah, dude, it took me a while to finish that burger.
Yeah. So, that's not good. Like the ideal would be like, remember when we were 18 and we could eat like 3 burgers and feel like we could just burn it off the next day.
Dude,
like that's a rocket
I'm
metabolism.
way beyond there.
Yeah, me too. Right. And I think a lot of that's just like stress, and we don't move as much, and we spend a lot more of our energy thinking than we do moving.
Yeah.
And that requires a lot. Great example of that, stress wise. I have a client. He's got 4 grown kids now. Like his youngest is like a junior in college, and they were all hiking up a mountain together. And he was like, "Man, I should be fitter. I was struggling going up the mountain, and they weren't." And I'm like, "But you are fit. Like I train this guy. I know his fitness level." I'm like, I was like, "Let me ask you a couple questions. When you were going up the mountain, were you the one who was leading the way because no one else knew where they were going?" "Yes, I was in charge. I had the map." "Okay, so you were the one who had to like navigate, which is kind of stressful. Was there any like storms coming or anything?" And he's like, "Yes, there was a rainstorm coming in and we had to get going." I'm like, "So did anybody else think about the rainstorm or figure out how to navigate?" No, they're just walking up the mountain. You're not just walking up the mountain. You're trying to actually think about where we're going. Like you're carrying the weight up
You
the
have
mountain.
so much more mental going on.
Yeah. I said, so that taxes your fitness more than you think. So like think about like if
I don't think about that. Yeah.
No, but like if you're in a CrossFit workout and like you're doing burpees and box jumps and kettlebell swings, and then like but you're like 4-year-olds right next to you screaming for you that they need you. Like how much harder is the workout now? Because like this just like it's not just you. You're thinking about like, oh, should I stop and help the baby? Like, or like is someone gonna get her? Like, or is she okay? Like
it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's way more exhausting. So I try to use that example because once people start having kids or they have more work responsibility or things like that, it's like your fitness is not gonna be what it was. It's gonna be harder. Like you're gonna have to be more disciplined to turn your phone off when you're at the gym, or you're gonna have to be more focused on like when I'm doing this hike, like I'm also gonna be navigating, and so it's gonna be more challenging. So be kind to yourself. Like people get so hard and they're like, "Well, I'm not as fit as the other person." It's like, well, you weren't doing the same workout.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And to be honest, no one in class is really doing the same workout.
No.
Everyone's got different weights, different plates. Like this person like came in with a certain amount of stress. They got in a fight with their wife before they got there and they're like angry, or this person like, is really depressed and hasn't told anybody and they're feeling isolated. And so, but they're just trying to work out because they just barely got out the door. And then this person's like just got a promotion. They feel on cloud 9 and they're over there and they're like ready to run a PR 400. And you're like, it's not the same workout.
For sure, man.
And that's okay. That's again, back to, that's why I like to individualize everything. But for a lot of people, they can navigate class or subscriptions and things like that because they are strong in that way. But for me, it's just fun to have a coach. Like, I coach people, and I've had a coach for the last 6 years. I've gone through 3 different ones of them, and they've all been phenomenal. They've all been really talented and great. I choose different coaches every once in a while just to get a different, for my profession, to glean different information from them.
Yeah.
They all have so much good to share. But I just was a big believer when I was in ministry, like you should always have a mentor.
100%. And carry that over into what you're doing now.
And I carried it over into what I'm doing now. So,
well, dude, I love what you guys do. Like, I think it's so special because for a lot of people that are using you, it's the ability to be able to say like, hey, the individual has so much on their plate right now of like going on in life. And you guys kind of help become the second thought process for them of like,
for sure.
Hey, let's help make this simpler. Because I agree. There's been a lot of times in my life where fitness is just like, dude, it's so hard for me to even just think about that right now, or to like figure out what's the best thing for me.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of come in and help make it a lot simpler.
Totally.
And so, dude, I love that. I think you guys are helping out like a ton of people. And I know we do have like 1 more minute left and we're going to wrap up here soon.
Yeah.
But I'd love for you to share maybe what's something encouraging, or even if it's just an update for you guys and what you're doing with Comeback Athlete. But just something encouraging for the listener who is saying, man, this is something that I would like love to do, because maybe they're starting the fitness journey, or they've been trying to get to a place where they feel like they're, successful in their fitness journey.
Mm-hmm. I would say you do not need us, right? As much as I would love to feel like you need us, because it would be really great job security. You don't need a coach. This is a luxury, and it's a luxury though that is very helpful. That will, and in our case, we want it to improve everyone's life all around. I want you to be better husbands, wives, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, coworkers, bosses, because you're fitter and you're healthier and you're happier. Mm-hmm. And when you can do those things well, it leaks over into all the other parts of your life. And we alluded to that so many times in the conversation earlier. And so that's really that's my ministry now. That's what makes me feel really excited. That's what I feel like God put me on this earth to do. And so I love helping individuals, but I would say I work with a lady, this is a great example. So I work with lots of athletes. I work with swimmers. I work with CrossFitters, all kinds of people. But I'll use like a really great gen pop person and general population person who she's up in New Jersey. She's a really sweet lady. I won't say her name, but she is not the most fit person. Mm-hmm. And she's got 2 kids, and she struggles to get things done. And our workouts for the last couple months have been, we check in once a month, on the phone call. And then we do daily check-ins when we respond back to each other. But I just have her do an accountability of mobility right now. I'm walking. Mm-hmm. That's all she can do right now. And she's super happy. She loves awesome. Checking in. When we check in, we talk lots of nutrition. We talk about accomplishments at work. But she is becoming a better mom. She's becoming a better coworker, right? Not because she's lifting 1 million pounds.
Wow.
And the job is not necessarily that the program design is so all you do is write walking and mobility stuff for her. That sounds like it's not that much. She can just figure it out. It's no, it's I am the person in her corner that came up with the plan with her because we knew where her life was and how stressful things were, that it was not working to just go to the gym and work out all the time. Yeah. It was this is what you need to be doing right now for this season. And when you do these things really well, you're going to feel better, and it's going to leak over, and we're going to get consistency, and then we can attack the weight training stuff later. Yeah. But you got to also realize her goal is just to lose weight and feel healthy.
Yeah. What I love about that too is it's not not everybody's goal is to have 6-pack abs. It's it's just the longevity of I want to be a healthier person in the long run.
And it all depends on the goal. Some people want to be hey, I want to do a high rocks competition, in Las Vegas. It's great. I'm going to make you hurt for the next 6 months. What you told me this is what you want to do. I asked you why you wanted to do it. You gave me a great answer.
I know some people doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. So but you want to get after it. That's what we're going to do. The other person says, well, I should do that because I want to lose weight. It's not necessarily, right? Let's get a plan for you that it works for you. And that's, that relationship, that accountability, that person in your corner, I think is worth a lot.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So I love helping all kinds of people, and we do it as coaches at Comeback for a wide variety. I have a 73-year-old client in Tennessee.
That's awesome.
She's hilarious. She just messaged me earlier today about I'm loving all this dumbbell and decline and incline pressing you're giving me. And I'm like, man, I hope I'm 73 and I still want to crush some dumbbell presses,
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, she's bad A.
Dude. Well, hey, before we head out, where can people find you? What was the best place? Maybe if it's socials or finding Comeback Athlete, where can they find you guys?
Sure. So we have a Comeback Athlete Instagram. You can head over to our website too. We have a really nice website, comebackathlete.com. And you can see our application there, how things work out. We've got some really cool testimonials on there. And then if you want to listen to our podcast and just get some more of our free stuff, you can head over to Comeback Athlete Podcast. And we have a newsletter we just started this past week, so we're going to start sending that out. We'll if you get on our Instagram, we'll have some links on how to get connected to our weekly newsletter. So we have really good content. We come out and we want to keep pumping out really good stuff for the individual, for people who want to feel, move, and look like an athlete again.
It's awesome, man. I love it. Follow them. Check out their podcast. It's incredible stuff. Well, dude, thank you so much for being on the show, Blake.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.